This week in Jamaica Now.
The emergency powers continuous resolution for the parishes of St. James, Westmoreland, Hanover, and the emergency powers specified areas of Kingston and St. Andrew continuous resolution is not approved.
Opposition senators block the extension of the states of public emergency.
It's a sad day for the people of Jamaica.
But will it cost the PNP a political price?
In my experience, whenever we stand on principle, ultimately we are vindicated.
Ex-constable gets life sentence for St. Mary murder. Missing Kingston hairdresser found dead weeks after a brush with a gunman. Rank-and-file cops demand payment of overtime money dating back to 2008.
We want money!
Ruel Reid walks away from Jamaica College with a multi-million-dollar settlement. And another in the Gleaner's Youth Month special. An 80-year-old student sits with the BOJ governor.
How long do you intend to remain as governor?
Whoops, that's a tough one now.
I'm Damian Mitchell, and this is Jamaica Now. The states of public emergency in 7 police divisions are to come to an end this weekend after an extension was blocked by opposition senators on Thursday night. The government, with a majority of 13 senators, needed only 1 vote from the opposition for the measure to be extended for 3 months. Leader of government business in the Senate, Makisha Smith, called it a sad day.
And in particular, it is a sad day for the people who live in the communities covered by the 7 divisions of the state of public emergency. We convey our apologies to the security forces who recommended and who have been utilizing the space and who had hope that the debate today would rise to the level of reason.
But Senate President Tom Tavares Finson went further.
I, Tom Tavares Finson, the President of the Senate, I'm calling on the head of the churches, I'm calling on civic organizations, I'm calling on the business community, the PSOJ. I'm calling on every sensible Jamaican to look at what has happened to here today and listen to me as I finally say. 2 members of parliament, not the entire opposition caucus, 2 and 3 unelected members of this Senate have put this country in grave danger.
On Tuesday, the government had used its majority in the House of Representatives to push through the measure. And People's National Party President Mark Golding has scoffed at suggestions that the party would pay a heavy political price for voting against extending the states of public emergency. Golding says he does not believe that the PNP would pay the price for defending the constitutional rights of Jamaicans.
In my experience, whenever we stand on principle, ultimately we are vindicated. And it is the best thing to do. To do what is right is the best thing to do. If I felt differently about the state of emergency and the way it's being used, I wouldn't have taken the decision that I took not to support its use in this way. But I believe that my oath as a parliamentarian requires me not to support the serial long-term use of states of emergency. And the resumption of states of emergency with some modified regulations is still the use of a state of emergency for the same purpose.
A Kingston family has been left heartbroken as the search for a 21-year-old trainee hairdresser ended in tragedy. Makisha Smith had been missing since last week Thursday. Her decomposing body was found on the Port Royal Main Road in Kingston on Monday afternoon. On Thursday, she had left her workplace at Byles Salon on Retirement Road in Kingston, saying she was going to meet a family friend. But she never returned. Smith had been employed at Byles as a trainee hairdresser for the past month. Her employer, Natisha Miller, further said before leaving, the 21-year-old trainee had asked a bearer to direct her to 14 Retirement Road. After a missing person report was filed, her co-workers acted and started circulating flyers online with the hope of her return. Makisha's sister told the Gleaner that a threat was made on her life after moving to the suburban community of 3 Oaks in St. Andrew about a month ago. When a white Toyota Axia motorcar stopped in front of her on November 4, one of several men alighted and pulled a firearm and chased her. Ex-constable O'Shane Thompson has been sentenced to life imprisonment for the 2017 murder of a St. Mary man. Thompson must serve 20 years and 8 months in prison before he becomes eligible for parole. He was found guilty on September 24 this year. Thompson was charged following an investigation by the Independent Commission of Investigations into the fatal shooting of Kristen Pearson. It was reported that Pearson and the ex-cop had an altercation at a party, which resulted in the shooting incident. In the Klansman Wandon gang trial this week, the prosecution encountered major blows when the defense blocked attempts to have key pieces of evidence entered. Court reporter Tanisha Mundle was in court and joins us now for more on this. Tanisha, what was the nature of these bits of evidence that could not be admitted?
Well, the first piece of evidence has to do with the transcripts and the conversations that the former member of the gang had indicated that he had recorded, secretly recorded, between himself and members of the gang. The prosecution tried to get that in, but the defense argued that the chain of custody of those evidence were compromised. They said that there was no evidence to indicate how those evidence were stored or how they were dealt with. So the judge accepted their objections, and based on that, the evidence was not admitted. It was only marked for identity. Another piece of evidence has to do with one of the illegal weapons that the police had collected from the ex-member. The defense had also argued that the chain of custody for that weapon and ammunition, there was a break in that chain of custody when those items were left at a police station. The judge accepted that objection. So those evidence were not admitted. They were only marked for identification.
Is there any possibility for these pieces of evidence to be admitted later?
When the prosecution first encountered the first roadblock, I would say, they re-strategized and they came back. Their plan is to call 4 police officers who would have dealt with the transcript and recordings. So that is their attempt to establish the chain of custody. So far they have called 3. The third one is now on the stand, and he is the investigating officer. And so far they have gotten one of the phones that was used to record the conversation admitted into evidence.
Well, the alleged members of the Wandon gang this week also complained about the quality of the meals that were being prepared for them by the state. How was that complaint addressed?
The defendant, including the reputed leader, Andre Blackman Bryan, complained that the quality of food is not palatable. They say that is not even fit for a dog. They're claiming that the food that they're getting is not cooked properly and it's cold, and they're also saying that the police officer at the court is not allowing their families to bring them food. And so they raised this complaint for Justice Brian Sykes, who, during their complaint, a senior officer indicated that she had gotten permission for them to have their relatives bring food for them. So the police will allow the defendant's family members to bring them food, and the judge has extended their lunch hour by 30 minutes to facilitate searches of the meals.
Thank you very much, court reporter Tanisha Mundle. The Jamaica College Trust has reported that the settlement for resigned principal Ruel Reid is $23.3 million. It says of this amount, the Education Ministry provided $16.1 million. The trust provided the remaining $7.2 million. Reid demitted office as principal of Jamaica College last week Saturday. It coincided with the expiration of his special leave. The board of Jamaica College had recommended a 5-year extension of Reid's special leave to the Ministry of Education, but the request was denied. Reid, who is before the court on corruption charges, had already exhausted 2 years of special leave with full salary and emoluments amounting to more than $11 million. Lawyers representing the Jamaica Police Federation and the government are now likely to go to trial over the payment of overtime money due to cops since 2008. The parties were in court on Thursday but failed to reach a settlement on the matter. A pre-trial hearing has been set for December 16. Rank-and-file cops maintain that they will not be backing down in demanding what is due to them.
We fed up our for Christmas too. And if we don't get to the Christmas, please give us a reasonable offer so we can take care of our family. We have children going to school as well, just like every other government-paid persons. and we need our money. We fed up. We do a fed up. We do a fed up. What we do? Fed up. What we do? Fed up. We want money. We want money. That is owed to us. That is owed to us. We want money. We fed up.
The Jamaica Police Federation, which has brought the suit against the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service and the Ministry of National Security, complains that the police have been working more than 40 hours a week without being compensated. Since the claim was filed in May of 2020, there have been discussions between lawyers from both sides. The matter was again brought before the Supreme Court for an agreement to be announced on an application by government lawyers. But that could not happen on Thursday as there was no consensus. According to the Federation, cops were willing to forego the claims from 2008 to 2014. However, the government wants to forego the claims from 2008 to 2018. The government would then compensate cops over a 6-year period for claims dating back to 2019. The Federation has rejected this, pointing to the potential impact of inflation. Instead, it would accept payment on claims since 2015 and agree to a portion of the retroactive payment now and the balance in the next 2 years. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, subscribe today and turn on your notifications. I'm Damian Mitchell, and before we go, another in our Youth Month interview series. In this episode, 80-year-old Mount Vernon Prep School student Sydney Spence sits with the Central Bank Governor, Richard Byles.
First of all, Mr. Byles, why is the Bank of Jamaica so important?
Oh, that's a tough one. Well, you know, the financial sector, which includes all the commercial banks, needs an organization right at the center that can coordinate everything.
What's that one misunderstanding about the central bank?
That we actually have customers other than the commercial banks. Commercial banks are our only customers.
How long do you intend to remain as governor?
Oops, that's a tough one now. I don't know, not much longer. I want to prepare the way for another younger governor, so a couple of years more, I'll still be here.
If you were to do a pet rescue, which would be the priority? Cat, dog, or bird?
I love dogs. I have to confess, I love dogs. They're my favorite.
What's your cool treats? Ice cream or popsicle?
Ice cream, and I like rum and raisin ice cream.